Hello, everybody. You know what sucks? Reading a book full of boring scenes that don't matter. You don't want to write that book, do you? Well, you're in luck, because today I'm breaking down how to write a compelling scene in 3 steps. Seriously, you will be shocked by how easy this is. You have probably been overthinking the process the entire time. Before we get started, let's define the basics. A scene is a sequence in a story where events unfold and things happen. That's it. That's a scene. One chapter in a book is comprised of at least one, if not more, scenes, and a novel is comprised of a whole bunch of scenes that unfold one after the next. You as a writer want people to read these scenes and feel compelled to continue until the book is done. You want them immersed in the story, and these 3 steps will help you achieve exactly that. Step number 1, give your protagonist or point of view character a goal. The reason we give our POV character a goal is to ensure that the scene has a purpose. We're not just following the MC as they meander through life. It's not just a regular Tuesday where they wake up, brush their teeth, and take a shit. There is a point to the scene, and the point is whatever the main character is hoping to achieve. Sometimes the goal is explicit, like surviving a battle. Other times, especially if you're writing a lower stakes novel, the goal is much simpler. In sci-fi, the goal of a scene might be locating an ancient artifact on a mysterious, unexplored planet. This is obvious and straightforward. Your character needs to find this artifact for the story to continue. But if you're writing literary fiction or a young adult contemporary, the goals might be a lot closer to home, like approaching their boss after a workplace incident, despite being very intimidated, or getting through a school day without running into the usual bullies. And keep in mind, a goal can materialize later in the scene. The scene might begin as a normal day, but an incident occurs that sets the purpose of the scene into motion. In my current work in progress, I wrote a scene where the main character is experiencing a normal day at work. But not far into the scene, her love interest barrels into her place of work and presents her with a very appealing but risky offer. Thus, her goal for the scene becomes clear, deciding whether or not to accept this offer based on its tantalizing perks or reject it because it's just way too risky. Additionally, it's okay for a character's goal to change mid-scene. In The Savior's Army, I wrote a scene where Tobias's goal initially is to acquire provisions for the rest of his journey. However, midway through the scene, a band of mercenaries discover his location, so his goal quickly shifts from acquiring provisions to murdering a bunch of baddies. Again, the goal can be big or small. Your objective is to ensure that this scene holds value in the story. Step 2, move the plot forward. This step is extremely simple, but it freaks a lot of writers out. Move the story forward, even if it's just an inch, even if it's a single sentence. Make something happen that either propels the story forward or changes its direction. The reason writers get anxious over this idea is they think something major needs to happen. Indiana Jones needs to almost get squished by a giant boulder. Darth Vader needs to reveal that Luke, he is your father. Tobias needs to kill a giant in an arena in front of 1,000 roaring spectators. These types of major plot events are great, but not every scene needs to rock the core of your story. In fact, if every scene did do that, I'd argue you probably need to add some slower moments in your book to give your readers space to breathe. But these slow moments can still absolutely move the plot forward. Sometimes the point of a scene is to help the friendship between 2 characters evolve. They start the scene wary of one another, but then they have a deep emotional conversation where vulnerabilities and fears are shared and understood, and after that, they develop a sense of trust with one another. Maybe trust is pivotal to the story because 10 chapters from now, character A is going to have to save character B's life. Maybe character B will die, sending character A spiraling into madness. Or maybe these 2 characters are going to fall in love. And none of this will happen or matter or be quite as impactful unless these characters have this conversation that helps them build trust and vulnerability. Even little moments matter in the story. Developing character traits, growing relationships, describing setting details can make or break the evolution of a plot. Say you're writing a scene where 2 characters have sex. An idiot might say, "What's the point of this? It's just sex." But sex can affect a relationship in a million different ways. It can deepen the bond between 2 people. It can affect a friendship either for better or way worse. It could be an act of betrayal if one character is sleeping with their best friend's husband. Or it can be an act of defiance if the character is sleeping with someone they're forbidden to love. These moments can absolutely change the plot, even if it may not seem like that at first. So when you're writing a scene, ask yourself, does this affect the evolution of the story? And if so, how? If you could delete the scene and there would be 0 consequences in the plot, then it's filler and you don't need it. And step number 3, end the scene with a question. Please note, I do not mean this literally. That would be extremely cheesy. What I'm trying to say is that the reader shouldn't have all of their questions answered once the scene is over. Something needs to be lingering. A question needs to remain, or a conflict needs to be left unresolved, even if it had nothing to do with the scene itself. For example, if the scene focuses on the romantic subplot, but you have questions remaining regarding the paranormal main plot, that's fine. Your reader is still left wondering what's going to happen next, and that's all that matters. And if your scene ends in some type of resolution, that's also fine, provided that not every aspect of the story is resolved. I have a passage in my current work in progress where the scene begins with the two lovebirds not knowing where they stand in the relationship. The scene ends with them making their romantic relationship official. They are now boyfriend and girlfriend, slap it on Facebook. This is a satisfying ending. They've resolved the goal that was set at the beginning of the scene. But the plot itself isn't resolved. There are still remaining conflicts, like whether or not these people are gonna end up broke. The bottom line is, you never want your readers to finish any scene and think, that's it! I've learned everything I need to know. Because there's no incentive to move forward. There's no reason to continue reading. Thus, leaving them with questions is a surefire way to keep them reading until 3 a.m. And how about a bonus 4th step? Use the roller coaster method. I listed this as a bonus step because it's not 100% necessary, but it can help boost your scene and make it extra compelling. The roller coaster method is when you start and end a scene on different emotional levels. If you begin the chapter on an emotional high, you end it on an emotional low, or vice versa. This is a very helpful and necessary tool to apply on a chapter-by-chapter basis, but if you wanted to, you could also apply it to a scene-by-scene basis. If the scene opens with fear, it can end in relief. But again, you don't have to do this. It can be really hard to do this for every single scene, especially if you're working with smaller scenes. It's just something to consider if you wanted to give your scenes an extra punch. So that's all I got for you today. I told you it'd be easy. If you'd like more help writing your very own book, check out my writing craft books, How to Write Romantasy and Shut Up and Write the Book. They are linked below. If Romantasy is more your vibe, check out the first 3 books in the Savior series. They're available on Kindle Unlimited. You can get them in ebook, paperback, hardback, and audiobook. I also have them linked below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I post new videos on Wednesdays and I host live streams on Mondays. And if you want to be alerted as soon as I upload, ring that bell. Bye!
Hey there, this is Lisa Cortleone, narrator for Shut Up and Write the Book by Jenna Moreci. Be sure to subscribe to Jenna's channel and ring the bell. That way you're alerted as soon as she posts a new video. Trust me, you don't want to miss this stuff.